Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to put on our corporate analyst hats and evaluate the unprecedented logistical puzzle of the 2026 World Cup. But we're doing this strictly through the lens of professional risk management. When an event expands to the absolute largest size in its history, the operational challenges don't just grow in a straight line. They compound exponentially. So let's step back, look objectively at the data, the geopolitical realities, and figure out exactly what's at stake here. Let's start with our baseline threat level, one number, 104. That's the total number of matches being played by an expanded roster of 48 teams. Now, in risk management, volume is literally everything. This acts as a massive threat multiplier for all the operational hurdles we're about to discuss. Every single match requires transport, security, ticketing, cross-border coordination, and when you multiply all of that by 104 across a massive geographic footprint, well, your margin for error effectively drops to zero. Here is the agenda for our risk matrix briefing today. We're organizing these scattered issues into 4 specific, manageable risk portfolios: geopolitical friction, a case study on the Iran relocation, travel and environmental risks, and finally, infrastructure and security threats.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, geopolitical friction.
It's easy to think of border policies as abstract concepts, right? But on the ground, they translate into severe operational bottlenecks. And we aren't just talking about fans getting stuck in line, we're talking about highly vetted professionals. Take Africa's 2025 Referee of the Year, Omar Abdikadir Artan. He was deported despite holding a diplomatic passport. That's a total loss of a key asset. Then you have Swiss star Breel Embolo getting bottlenecked by intense visa reviews, and Iraqi player Ayman Hussein detained for nearly 7 hours upon arrival. From a logistical standpoint, if your players and your referees cannot reliably cross the border, your entire scheduling matrix is completely at risk.
Which brings us to Section 2, our primary case study, the Iran relocation.
So we really have to ask ourselves, how exactly does international conflict force an event of this massive scale to just completely pivot its foundational planning? When a tournament is spread across the entirety of North America, geopolitical tension doesn't stay in the political realm. It manifests as a very real, on-the-ground operational crisis. And this brilliantly illustrates the resulting domino effect. Because of an international border standoff, the Iranian national team literally had to scrap their plans and relocate their entire base camp down to Mexico. Try to picture that from a risk management perspective for a second. Suddenly, at the 11th hour, you are trying to secure new training facilities, new hotels, new security protocols, and new supply chains in a completely different country. Plus, the players themselves have to navigate incredibly intense visa procedures just to participate. And crucially, this risk profile extends right down to the end user, the fans. Traveling supporters from several nations are facing outright bans, or they're being subjected to intensive social media background checks by immigration authorities looking for alleged anti-Americanism. When your fans are facing this aggressive level of digital scrutiny just to show up, it drastically impacts ticketing, your local tourism revenue projections, and honestly, the overall global accessibility of the event. Okay, let's pivot to Section 3, travel and environmental risks.
9 million. That is the staggering tonnage of carbon dioxide projected to be generated by this tournament. Because the event spans thousands of miles, there is an incredibly heavy reliance on long-distance, cross-continental flights just for team travel. Moving 48 teams, their support staff, and millions of fans back and forth frames this as much more than an ecological issue. It's a severe reputational risk. It's already being labeled as the most environmentally damaging World Cup ever. From a corporate responsibility standpoint, that is a massive liability.
When we assess this dual threat, we see the extreme environmental toll colliding directly with acute operational hazards. You've got these cross-continental flights spanning thousands of miles, like flying from Vancouver all the way down to Mexico City, generating immense carbon overhead. But concurrently, an independent study by Climate Central warns that a staggering 97 out of the 104 matches are at risk of being played in temperatures exceeding 28 degrees Celsius, which is about 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit. This severe summer weather across North America poses a very real, dangerous health risk to both the players on the pitch and the fans in the stands. Finally, let's round out our risk portfolio with Section 4, infrastructure and security threats. Let's start with the financial infrastructure. The implementation of automated dynamic pricing has driven costs to absolutely historic, exorbitant levels, pretty much blocking out the average fan. We're seeing secondary marketplace tickets for the final listed for thousands of dollars.
But from a risk assessment point of view, the real issue is the blowback. Consumer groups have actually filed formal complaints with the European Union, and the attorneys general in New York and New Jersey have launched active price gouging investigations. When your ticketing strategy is so aggressive that it triggers active legal probes from major government entities, well, your brilliant revenue model has officially become a high-risk liability. And on the ground, the physical infrastructure is really struggling to support these crowds. The organizers chose these massive, modern stadiums like MetLife in New Jersey and AT&T in Dallas. But the problem is, these venues are trapped deep in suburban grids. They fundamentally lack the comprehensive public train networks you absolutely need to rapidly and safely move mega event crowds in and out of the area. Because those train networks are inadequate, the alternative transit routes are facing severe gridlock and confusing stadium transfers. It's actually a bit absurd when you look at the scale of this local friction. Transit operators initially tried to charge fans up to $150 just for a standard train shuttle ride, before public pressure forced those rates down. Combine that with stadium parking fees ranging anywhere from $75 to $300, and this kind of commuter friction creates massive bottlenecks, huge delays, and a highly negative experience for the attendees.
Adding another layer to this complexity is the localized security threat. Mexico is hosting 13 matches, and they are facing immense logistical pressures of their own. Recently, there has been a surge in regional cartel violence following a high-profile federal military raid. This puts local law enforcement under severe pressure to guarantee tourist and player safety around vital match hubs like Guadalajara. In risk management terms, trying to ensure perimeter and transit safety in regions experiencing active security volatility requires immense resource allocation and contingency planning.
So, we've looked at the diplomatic friction, the massive environmental and logistical strain of relocating teams and flying them across an entire continent, the financial investigations, and the local transit gridlock. After reviewing this entire risk matrix, I want to leave you pondering one critical question. Has the scale of modern mega events finally outgrown our logistical capacity to safely and sustainably host them? It's a risk factor we are all going to be watching very closely as kickoff approaches.